Okay, fantastic. Well, we are right on time then. I'd like to get this session started. My name is Joe Pilimai. Welcome everyone to our Cityworks Innovate Conference. We have an excellent breakout session for you today regarding the Cityworks and ArcGIS Indoors for facilities and plant management. With us today, we have our primary presenter, Carl Alexander. Carl's one of our subject matter experts. He's a GIS professional. He is also a long-standing Cityworks customer, so he has a considerable amount of experience with the GIS and Cityworks. In fact, you might have seen him on the stage at our last conference and was a outstanding part of the team at White House Utility District. So I loved his presentation last time. With us also is Luke Savage, who is also one of our subject matter experts in our GIS team. He actually works with our professional sales team and is one of the leads there in maintaining both our GIS environment as well as really keeping our our sales team up to speed on what the latest and greatest is for the Esri platform. And so with that introduction, we'll go ahead and get started here. Sorry, one house cleaning item for questions. We'll be doing all that we can to get questions answered. For any questions that we do miss during the session, we will have access to those later on, and we'll be circling back around to provide information for, again, any questions that remain unanswered. And again, with that, let's go ahead and hand it over to Carl. Carl, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. So welcome everybody to the Cityworks and ArcGIS Indoors for facilities and plant management presentation here. Just really quickly, have to throw up our safe harbor statement. I'm sure everybody has kind of seen this one on several presentations before. Just a quick agenda. We don't have very long, 25 minutes, so we're just going to briefly talk about why our organizations modernizing the ways that they're managing their facilities, just go over some of the indoors data through the RJS Indoors app, and then really want to focus on and show several different workflows, an office workflow using the RJS Indoors app viewer, and then some mobile workflows that office or that field staff could be using, and then also touch on some of the new functionality. So RJS field apps using indoors data, and then lastly, the Indoors Viewer 3D capabilities. And then hopefully we'll have a few minutes to kind of wrap up and maybe answer some of the questions that you have. So why are organizations modernizing the way that they manage their facilities? And for so long they've used a lot of spreadsheets and paper and or maybe nothing at all to really manage their plants and facilities. So compliance is a big issue and a big reason that organizations are really wanting to use technology and GIS and software applications for this to extend the life of their investments. A lot of people are making substantial monetary investments, millions and millions of dollars that they're putting into new buildings, to new plants and different facilities, and they want to make sure that once they take ownership of these assets, that they're really maintaining them and they're going to be around for a long, long time. And we save resources. We're using technology and keeping track of all of your work activities, over periods of time will allow organizations to start to be proactive with what they do. And they're not just always visiting, maybe locations monthly, they can start to be really proactive and just go do work when it needs to get done. And then lastly, we're starting to see this idea of digital twin really become prevalent in a lot of organizations, where you're starting with a building or a plant, on the digital side of just the plans, and being able to see that product all the way through the life cycle, and then extending the life of that asset by tracking your work digitally as well. So one of our big customers that is using RJS Indoors in their facilities for their treatment plants is the city of Raleigh in North Carolina, and they have really taken this and really run with it, and they're doing some really awesome things. And it has really helped them not just manage it, but also be able to provide that information, outside of that silo. So really break up the silo and provide all that information, with everybody in the organization. So first, we're just going to give you just kind of a quick overview of what some of this indoors data looks like. So this is the RJS Indoor Viewer here with a facility that is the Trimble office in Colorado. And as you can see, we have the Indoor Viewer apps here with some data in here. So we have some work order data, some inspection data is in here, but we also have facilities information using the indoors model that Esri has, which allows us to be able to use the indoor picker here to choose buildings. And then this will just zoom into a building. And as part of that model, as you can kind of see on the right, is a lot of the different fields and information that is available for that building. And then we can now break that down by different levels. So you can see we are currently on level 1, and then we can also break that even further down into units. So now you see a large training unit, our conf room with all the information that can be inputted and created as part of the information model. And same here, here's a cubicle, unit 15. And so we can, quickly be able to see all, the information, that you want to capture as part of your facilities there, and then, be able to get more details. So here we're labeling it by the different units. You can see the doors, you can see the stairs, and even in this example, they have all the different tables and the furniture in each unit that's part of this building, building 2 on level 1 here. So you can make this, as detailed or not detailed as you want, but this one is a really, really detailed floor plan, of the office. So we'll go ahead and zoom back out here and switch floors. So now we'll go ahead, and as you can see, there wasn't anything available as far as work activities on that level, but on this one, level 2, we're showing now that, hey, there's an open work order. It looks like in that conference room there. But as you can see, we're able to switch, and now you see level 2, building 2, and see the information for that cubicle there. We'll switch up to level 3, and the work activity for that, is gone, and now we don't see anything. And then now we can go ahead and switch up here, and now you see an actual work order and an inspection, that are available here on this floor. So this is really helpful and beneficial for, say, somebody in the office that wants to utilize the Indoors app here with Cityworks work activities as just for a view. But we can go ahead and take this, one step further and even open up those work activities. So we'll go back in here, and we'll see that we open up this emergency repair in the Indoors app. Here we can click and actually set this up to configure to open up this work order. So if you have a manager or a supervisor that's using the Indoors app and then wants to maybe go in and change the status of this or priority, or maybe actually change who to submit to, now you can just go ahead and link from that Indoors app right in here to Cityworks and be able to do that. Also here showing, how this knows what the floor, when you do the floor picker, whether to show this up or not is right here. So you have these extra fields now, the facility ID, the level ID. We'll talk about this later when we show in the 3D, but you have the X and Y, and this data is Z enabled. So we're actually capturing that Z value also, which can be used in part of the 3D. So this really allows users now to take that data that's in there, click on it, and go ahead and open up that work activity and either complete it and do their normal workflows. Opening's great, but let's go ahead and actually create one, from this app also. So we'll switch over to building one, and we'll kind of go see what is available on building one. So level one, you can see everything switched there. We will go ahead and switch to, let's say, level three. So somebody calls in, hey, I need a work order created on level three for one of these conference rooms. And so you can click on the conference room here, go ahead and open that up and actually create the work order or inspections from the app here. So you can see the actual unit is selected and highlighted here. And so you still get all that information available in Cityworks, and we can go ahead and create that work order. So you can select your facilities and notice your units, and then we'll go ahead and just quickly create, say, a carpet cleaning work order. And scroll down and actually create this work activity. And so this will create with all the same information that you would normally create, your work order for. So, there really quickly, there's just a couple, scenarios of, office users, using Cityworks. But what about the staff that's out actually doing and creating, completing these work orders and these work activities? So there is an app link now between the RJS Indoors app with the Cityworks mobile app. And so we can really sync those two up together. So if anybody hasn't been in it before, this is the ArcGIS Indoors app. See the same exact data that we were looking at before, but it is now on a mobile device. This is on an iPad Air. And as you can see, I can just kind of click through here and change those facilities and see the different work activities, open up at the bottom. You can explore, and now it's kind of like that inbox of work activities that are part of this Indoors app. So here we just quickly opened up an emergency repair, clicked on it, and then actually opened this up now into the Cityworks mobile app. Same work order. Now, as they're doing the work or they finish it, the field staff can complete all of the work, labor, material, and equipment, and their tasks that you want them to complete. And check the box down there and complete that. Same process as before. We'll go down here. That is just opening up work activity, but say they're going around and they see, something that needs to be fixed, or here on, the building one level 2 in this conference room, something needs to be done. So we can go ahead and highlight this unit as well. Here, click on the more button and get the options to create, for this one, a work order. So we'll go in, open this, it goes over and opens this up in the Cityworks mobile app, create a work order. We'll go ahead and create the carpet cleaning one here for this scenario. And then now staff can go ahead and either complete the work, through the mobile app, or they can go ahead and just save it and sync in the top right-hand corner, and it will, show up in somebody else's inbox, or supervisor may want to do it or send it later to somebody else. And then now once it syncs, we'll go back to our RJS Indoors app and zoom in, and there's the work activity that we just created. And you can click on it and see that information. So really, really good interaction between the Indoors mobile app and the Cityworks mobile app. Another thing that was introduced in the mobile app in 9.1 and 10 is the app linking with ArcGIS field maps. And so we could take that work activity that we were just at, app link over to ArcGIS field maps. And now you see the same exact data with the same exact information with the same exact tools over here, going through the buildings where same idea and concept as far as viewing. So it'll just hover over to building 1 and kind of go quickly through the levels on this also. And what this now does is gives us the ability to take the same data and start using some of the tools that are available in the field apps, like measure and markup and even editing. So here, if we need to know a distance between these 2 walls, really kind of quickly and rough, we can go ahead and click on it, change it over units over to feet, and see, approximately 16 feet. Same with area. If we need to know the area, very quickly of a certain part, we can go ahead and get, square footage of this little conference room, I believe, and see that. So there are different options and different tools, in field maps that are really good. Lastly, say that we're working and we need to change, the use type of this room. So we clicked on it, edited it, and now we can scroll through here in field maps and actually update our data, to make sure that the information that we have and that we're using, that we're sharing with everybody, stay as up to date as possible. So really empowering a lot of those field users now to be able to create, data, complete their data, and even start to update some of the GIS data to really make sure everything, stays up to date and constant, and it's all in real time. Lastly, we just want to touch on the 3D Viewer and ArcGIS Indoors app. And I know that kind of highlighted it really quickly, the Z values on the work activities. But here, we had that 2D button or 3D button here. We just clicked it, and this switched over from the 2D web map into a 3D ArcGIS scene. And now, since our data was Z enabled and actually had elevation on it, we're now able to look and view this information in 3D. So we're just going to pan around here. As you can see, with the Z values on the work activities, you're actually seeing those work orders that are on the 4th floor, in the elevation also. So we'll use that app here, the floor switcher widget, and we'll go ahead and start switching through some of these floors. So really detailed building here with walls and cubicles and doors and furniture, but you can see, the 3 work orders that are open, currently here in this app are on here. And then same functionality with the 2D. We can go ahead, click on that work order, open it up, complete it, update it, make changes here. Also can go up to, say, the 3rd floor that we need to. Go ahead to the 4th floor. We'll pan around a little bit just so you can kind of see how much more context you get when you're starting to view, your facilities in 3D, versus just that 2D look. Same data, same information showing, and we've highlighted that one unit, and we'll go through the same process and click on this and go ahead and create a work activity. So hopefully you get, see some value in being able to start to see, your facilities in 3D, and how easily it is, to use the floor switcher widget, Cityworks data, kind of really combine all those together, for that really good, common operational picture. But, a lot of detail can be in here. It's really fast and seamless to kind of integrate all these together. We'll just kind of pan around here for a second. So I know that was just, a couple examples, of some different workflows, that we have available, so to kind of, wrap up. So the example that we were shown here were some DWG floor plans, of an office building that were optimized for RJS Indoors. We were able to take those plans, add them to ArcGIS Pro, and then use a couple of the ArcGIS Pro tools to migrate that data into an Indoors enabled geodatabase. So there's like an import to floor plans, or there's even a BMI to Indoors apps that'll take your data and very quickly import those into a file geodatabase. And then you can share those, as web maps and data either to Enterprise, ArcGIS Online. The work activities that we showed, the work orders and the inspections were just configured EURL queries that we were able to add into the web maps, into the apps, and use indoor categories and launch actions, to be able to view those, and then also able to open those up and then create the work activity as well. The apps, the mobile apps that it showed, so that would be the Indoors app, that would be the Cityworks app, and then app linking over into field maps, always using just a mobile map package. So all that data, the GIS data, is stored, on your device. And then lastly, we just created a 3D local scene of the data, so extruded it out based on the elevation. And then same with the EURL queries, added those to the local scene, and then just configured that as part of the Indoor Viewer. So when it switched from 2D to 3D and back and forth, it's just going from a web map to a 3D scene, and back. So I don't know if we have any questions up, but that was kind of a lot of information, in a very, quick kind of workflow process. So there is a lot of more processes that we have available. So actually in the, the floor picker in the Cityworks maps, but here are just a couple of articles that are available if you want to kind of take a screenshot or look these up, that'll give some more detail and some more use cases of Cityworks and Indoors. And then there's also plenty of resources on Cityworks Online to kind of just search and being able to really get more details on how all this was configured. There's a lot of good data out there.
Great. Thanks, Carl. Fantastic stuff. We did have some questions in the background that Luke and I have been managing. A couple of them, I think, are some pretty good discussion points, such as one came in for the utility network. The question was, does ArcGIS Indoors work with the utility network? And so we thought that one might be good just to kind of have an open discussion on. Luke, if you want to kind of head that one up for us, or maybe have Carl nail it, your choice.
So it might be more getting with like Esri because of the use cases on, understanding that, but I believe that, the Indoors model currently is using just polygons and points for the most part. So I don't think that it uses utility network, but I do think that it is on their roadmap as something that they're wanting to use.
That is correct, Carl. These are two different data models right now. Esri is actually, I've been talking in a discussion with Esri about, what's the roadmap for the Indoors platform? Are we going to start being able to consume the utility network? Because they really awesome if we could do that within the plant model, right? So if we have plant, we can put all the infrastructure within that, and being able to manage that through Indoors it would be an incredible thing. So that is on their horizon. It's just right now, they're trying to roll out the new kernel for everything in the back end for Indoors, and so we do have papers on that for ArcGIS 2.7 or ArcGIS Pro 2.7x on how to configure with Cityworks. So that should be in My Cityworks, right, Carl?
Yes. It's available for all the customers on there. Yep.
Awesome. One more that came in fact, just right now, was have any Cityworks clients used ArcGIS Indoors for water or wastewater treatment plants rather than just an office building? And can ArcGIS be used for assets that span multiple levels?
Yes. So Raleigh the North Carolina use case. So if you want to look that one up, they are using it for their treatment plant facilities. And so they would be a great one to kind of look at. There's a few articles, I believe, that are out there for them.
There are, and I think there's also a there might have been a video that they did themselves. So
yeah. And then the different levels. I believe they're using the floor switcher, I believe, currently in the Cityworks office map. But that is a good segue for tomorrow. Chad Foley from the city of Raleigh is going to be on a panel discussion that we are having tomorrow. So it's understanding vertical asset workflows. And so we'll have him from Raleigh, Jessica Stack from Powers, and Jake from Trimble. So we should have a great panel discussion that really talks about a lot of that information and what they did and tips and tricks, lessons learned, what they're doing next. So you can get on there and ask your questions as well.
fantastic. We've got some time still. I've got a couple of more questions. Let's go with the next one that we had in line. Will the floor plans functionality 3D work for pump stations for the vertical assets? Can the plans be created in the field with the collector app? That one was.
Yeah, so I mean, as long as it follows the building model, then yes, anything can be created. So as long as you have that RJS Indoors, structure on there and it's attributed correctly, then yes, you can do that. As far as collector, I don't think so. I do know that there is some indoors functionality currently, as we showed in field maps. And that is being expanded to be able to do the 3D. And so we have another session tomorrow on field maps, and it will get touched on. Jeff Shaner from Esri and I are doing a session, showing some workflows, and he will kind of hit on, currently what you can do in ArcGIS or in field maps for the indoors model, and also kind of touch on that roadmap as well, what they're doing, going forward.
Okay.
To being able to edit that data. Yeah.
Fantastic, Carl. Thank you. One question, very easy to answer. Can this also be used with plant management, water and wastewater treatment plants? The answer is yes. The example was given of Raleigh, North Carolina. Fantastic team out there. I've actually had the opportunity to be on site with them and visit, and they have a great vision. So tomorrow's session, I think you mentioned, Carl, would be a good one for people to stop in and maybe get some information. So
yeah, absolutely.
All right. So one other quick question I think we've got time for, point cloud integration. Not quite sure the depth of that question. It might be one we revisit later on. And then for clients, here's another one. For clients who have been using more traditional GIS feature, object class relationships for facility management, have you looked at how they may transition to an indoors model at all? This would entail moving GIS data and possibly related Cityworks activities as well. That one might take a little more research. I'm not sure if either of you have maybe some quick points of discussion that we could interact or share with them, but that seems a fairly deep question that might need some research and side discussion on.
Yes, and I'd actually think Raleigh kind of is still doing maybe of a hybrid approach where they are still doing, and so you can still use your building information, the indoors model with related work or related features, and still kind of doing both. And then there are some tools in Cityworks if you're taking some related data and renaming those and making those features to migrate your work activities to that new naming convention or whatever the new structure you're using. So
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And then last question, and we'll wrap up here, but just for the sake of our audience, what version of GIS Indoors and Cityworks Mobile were being presented?
The latest of Indoors. So I don't know the exact, but it was the latest. And then that was Cityworks Mobile 10, but it's also could work with 9. So the same functionality was there. And it was the latest of field maps as well.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that, guys, thank you so much. We'll wrap up. I'd like to thank everyone who spent time and view this presentation with us. Carl, thank you for sharing your expertise with us. Luke, thank you for your assistance with the questions we had previously. And I hope everyone has a great conference. We'll go ahead and close out this session.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Everyone have a good conference.